Thank you, everyone, for tuning into Her Inspired Mind podcast. This is your host, Rebeka Fillmore. And today I have a super lovely guest. Before I jump into it, I want to introduce her. And her name is Deb Krier. And she is the founder of tryingnottodie.LIVE. She is a passionate cancer advocate with a career in communications and a personal battle with stage 4 cancer, triple positive breast cancer, and thyroid cancer. Deb turned her adversity into a mission, and that is why she is here with us today. So welcome, Deb.
Well, thank you. I am so honored to be your guest, Rebeka.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we were connected, and I'm happy to have you share your story on this platform because I believe it is a powerful and amazing story of not only struggle, hard times, but also triumph. And I love your mission, trying not to die.live. I love that. So can you share with us a little bit of where your story began?
Sure. Okay. I'll give you the very short and condensed version. Back in 2015, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Initially, the diagnosis was what they call stage 0, which is easy peasy. Don't get too overexcited about it, type of thing. And then discovered a little bit later on that the cancer had actually spread. And so I went to stage 3 at that point, started chemotherapy. And it was one of those where, and I had decided I went with a very traditional approach, but I do tell people you got to do what works for you. Yeah. And so I started chemotherapy, got a reaction to it that less than 1% of the people have. And at that point in time, I was the only person that ever survived it. So I'm special.
Yes, you are.
But had multiple complications. I actually went into septic shock, which most people do not survive that. But I remember thinking, excuse me, I get a vote in this. And so had multiple surgeries, multiple complications. Along in there, I also said something along the lines of, to one of my doctors of, hey, I got, on the bad side, a rib that hurt, that bone. And so did another test. And at that point, they decided it was stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
Which is not considered curable. Now, it's also something that, people live with for many, many years. And I'm happy that I've already passed several of the milestones. Yeah. So, we just keep going. Had decided, so I spent over 7 weeks in the hospital, in and out of ICU, all sorts of fun things like that. But that was, that was kind of the initial stages of, how am I going to live my life and not, not think about dying. So then, had a double mastectomy. I did not have reconstructive surgery. I'm old. I don't care. But I got a complication from that my doctor had never seen. So again, the being special popped up. Yeah. And, obviously got over that, went on and, lots of other little things that happened along the way, developed skin cancer, which was just a real basic, easy to take care of skin cancer. Then last summer, we were running some tests for something totally different. And they said, hey, you've got a lesion on your thyroid. Turns out I had thyroid cancer. Wow. And it was a totally new cancer. So I have had 3 cancers that were not related to each other. So not a spread or anything like that. That surgery was simple, easy peasy. They took out my thyroid gland. And you do have to go on a medication for the rest of your life, but no further treatment on that because we caught it so early. Yeah. But, in all of this, one of the things that I kept thinking about was we get so concerned and focused on trying to not die that we forget that we have to live. Wow. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 hours, 5 days, 50 years. we have got to focus on how we live our lives and not how we are dying. And so that's where the name came from. And we launched this initiative. It's been a couple of years ago now. And, its mission is to help those on their cancer journey, whether they are the patient or the loved one, the friend, the coworker, or the care provider for someone who has cancer, to show them, this is how to do this. And then, it's been great to be able to do this.
Wow. First of all, I just love your bubbly energy, your smile, you just radiate, you exude life.
Thank you. Now, I did have 2 cups of coffee today, which is one more than my usual, right?
But even when I first talked to you in the podcast pre-call, like, just it's no wonder you're still here. You're still ticking. You're still living your life to the fullest.
Excuse me. Yeah. And I'm like this all the time. I mean, yes. I know now the thyroid surgery was actually my 33rd surgical procedure during all of this.
Wow.
And, and I firmly believe that there are times where they have put me under anesthesia a little bit early to shut me up.
Oh my God.
Because I'm just, hi, how are you?
Oh, I love that. I love that because, like you said, like, it's interesting because there are people, sometimes they're diagnosed with cancer and they pass away I've heard of within a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months. What do you think? Is there anything in your personality or in your mindset that has helped you to not get stuck in that, oh my God, I'm going to die?
Yeah.
Instead of and then going to that side of, you know what, I'm going to live. Like, I'm here taking, I'm owning this. Like, how does your brain work?
Well, there are times where I'm like, this sucks. I'm not a happy camper. But I also have always known that I am strong. I am powerful. I am in charge.
Yes.
But many years ago, I worked for an absolutely fabulous oncologist. And he would tell the patients, 99% of it is in your head. If you believe you're going to die, you will die.
Yes.
If you believe that you're going to live, you will live. Again, 5 hours, 5 days, 50 years. But it's all in your mindset. Now we do have pity parties, right? We are human. It's actually natural and normal to feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
But the thing is, don't get stuck there.
Yeah, I believe that's very important. And I feel like I'm so glad we're talking, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize how powerful our mind and our thoughts really are. You know.
Right. Yeah, my husband was actually told during this whole process 3 different times that, he needed to prepare for the worst.
Wow.
And I do remember thinking, excuse me, I get a vote in this matter. So, but it is our, how are we going into this? Are we going in as warriors? And a warrior is our symbol, in tryingnottodie.LIVE, or are we going in as the victim?
Yes.
And, we are very much the warriors. I tell people I am not a cancer patient. Bleh. Don't call me that. I'm a survivor, right?
Yes.
But more importantly, I am a warrior, and because I am in the fight for my life.
Yes.
But it is more importantly, it's about how are we pulling our tribe around us to give us the support that we need.
Yeah. So, I love that you mentioned that about the warrior mindset and the victim mindset. I talked about that all the time. When you're on that side, right, and you're told you have stage 4 cancer, or whatever it might be, and someone's listening to this and they've recently been diagnosed with cancer. What are some mindset tips or things that you can give to someone so that they don't go down the victim mindset?
Right. My first reaction was I was pissed, and I literally told my doctors, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. But, I think we are angry, it's, and there is what did I do to deserve this? All of these various things. But then it was like, okay, well, now we pick up and we go on.
Yeah.
But again, you have to acknowledge those down times. Anytime somebody communicates to me and says, I was just diagnosed, I say the bad words, and as opposed to, oh, Rebeka, you can get through this, because you're going to hear that a lot, right? From whoever. But yeah, I'm the one that says, okay, we're going to be mad about this.
Yes.
Now we go on. Right. But yeah, it is, you do have to acknowledge that. And it's, it is something, and we have to understand the people around us are going to have a lot of those same feelings too. I have so many people that contact me and they say, my friend, my sister, my wife, my brother, whoever was just diagnosed and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So what they do is they do nothing. And then we think, oh, they don't love us. And it's, they're just, it's kind of like when someone passes away, right? You don't want to say anything because you don't want to upset them. Well, it's okay to say, I am really sorry this happened to you.
Yeah. I love that. So like acknowledging your emotions, because I think sometimes people we go to fight, flight, or freeze, right? So it could be if someone's recently diagnosed, maybe just trying to pretend it's not happening. But I love what you said.
They got the test wrong.
Yeah. Because I think our minds go into that. Denial. That's just a coping mechanism as human beings. But I love how you said you have to acknowledge your feelings, because just because you pretend it's not there doesn't make it go away. And I think speaking exactly how you feel, being vulnerable, like if someone feels like they're falling apart, but they want to portray, I got this, I'm strong, I got this together, but behind closed doors. So I love that you said that, just being open and honest, whether it's you're the person being diagnosed or you're a family or a friend.
Yeah.
So I like, if you could speak a little bit more, why is it so important about the kind of people you have around you when you're going through this?
It is absolutely critical to have the right tribe, as we put it. And it's a variety of people. Starts with, I fully acknowledge that my husband is my biggest superhero, right? He's been there the whole time. He's done stuff that I know he never thought he would have to do. And then other family and friends, my mom came and stayed for 4.5 months. And her sister, who was a nurse practitioner, came out several times. And then I had, all sorts of friends that helped, but it's, like we said, having the right people. And part of that really is your medical care providers. I have fired 3 doctors through this process. They were all very competent, good medical care providers. We just weren't on the same wavelength. Gotcha. And, and these were going to be people that were going to be in my life for a long time. And I did not want to they just were not the right people. So it is about building that. It's there are the negative people, right? The negative Nellies of the world. Get them out of your lives, or, only deal with them as much as you have to, because that toxicity, I think, does really affect us both physically, mentally, all of those things.
Yeah.
But, it's also, as from the warrior, the patient standpoint, you touched on this. We have to be honest. Just telling somebody, if you say, how are you doing? If I say, oh, I'm fine. No, now I might be, and that's perfectly fine. But, we tend to say that because we don't want to be a bother. We don't want to worry people. We don't want to do all of those things. But if we need something, it's okay to say, I really need this. After I got out of the hospital, one of the things they said was, you need exercise. You need sunshine, you need vitamin D, you need to get out and walk. Well, I actually was having to use a walker. And so it was, and I don't, there was a big fear that I was going to go thud, and so I needed people to come and, and do that. And so I post on Facebook. And I said, I need my friends in Atlanta to come and walk me. 15, 20 minutes, it's not going to take long. And then I put leash provided, cause you got to have a little fun with this, right? And I had, not every day, but I had people who came. And the thing that did was it, first of all, it helped me, right? But, which that was the main thing. but it also gave them something they could focus on.
Mm.
I don't know what to do. Oh, hey, I can go and do this. And so they were able to show their support by coming in and doing that.
Yeah.
So it is perfectly fine to ask for help.
Yeah. So it doesn't make you weak for admitting that.
Actually makes us stronger.
Yes. Vulnerable. And I think that's a misconception a lot of times that people have by being vulnerable. Right. That means I'm showing I'm weak. I got to have this tough exterior and I got to act like everything's okay, you know, but in reality, being vulnerable, it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we absolutely have to be truthful with our doctors. That is one of the things, and all of our medical care providers, because how many times you go in, doesn't matter what you're going in for, and they say, hey, Rebeka, how you doing today? And out of your mouth says, fine. Right?
Yeah.
But they, and of course they need to pry more and actually, are you fine? Ask, but many times they're like, well, they said, fine, I'm not going to be concerned about this.
Yeah.
So you need to be honest with him. I tell him hunky dory. And it was funny because I was in for treatment. I actually still have a port in my shoulder and I get treatment, every 21 days. And so, one of my nurses said, how you doing? And I said, hunky dory. And they all loved that. And they were laughing. And I said, now you understand, if I ever don't say that, it means there's a problem. And they said, oh yeah, we get that. And so, but yeah, they don't read minds. Yeah. God bless them for everything they do, but they don't read minds.
Yeah.
So we have to be honest, open, and vulnerable.
Yeah. Wow. So good. I just love you. Like, let me just say that again.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I love this.
Your energy, your vibe. I'm so thankful to have you here because there's people that might be listening to this that aren't even diagnosed with cancer. Maybe they're going through
anything you're going through,
anything that they might be going through in life, and they might get in this stuck state of, oh my God, why me? Poor me. I'm helpless. I'm hopeless. So to see such a strong woman like you speaking life, I'm just so thankful for that.
Well, thank you. and like I said, there are times where I'm like, no.
Yes. Same.
This is I'm not having a good day. I can't, and there are things I can't do, which just annoys me to no end.
Yeah.
But there are other things where I'm like, I think I can do that. I think I can do that today.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, but we do that as women, right? We just keep going forward.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yes. And I was just talking to a friend of mine this morning. We were talking about that. Like, we all have some kind of trauma, right? A lot of us from childhood.
Right.
And as professional women, sometimes people see the good accolades we have, the success we have. And if someone asks you, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. But behind closed doors, you're depressed, you're anxious, you feel like you're falling apart. You feel like you can't keep it all together because a lot of times we're expected, or we think the world expects us to be perfect. Right. But I was, sharing with her, and we were talking about like, no, like when you're vulnerable and you say, like, if someone asks you, how are you? Like, girl, I'm going through it today. I am not feeling it. And you just start to talk and be honest. How many women speak up and they're just like, girl, me too.
Right.
Me too.
I just had that happen this morning too. I was in an online thing, and this wonderful woman who I know said she was going through some stuff. And I mean, she broke down and it was me and her and then another woman. And I said, you're in a safe place. It's okay.
Yes.
Because she felt bad that she got emotional, and it's like, no, now if there'd been a man there, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Because that is, especially as professional women, we think, oh, we can't cry, or they're going to think we can't do the job.
Yeah.
And so, but we also see men now starting to show emotion, right? And that's kind of a cool thing.
Yes. Like if we could all just be open and honest about how we feel, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all human. We all feel the same, similar or same kind of emotions. And when we're open about what we feel, like the humanity, the empathy, and the connection that comes out of that is so beautiful. And that's why I have this podcast and I bring women like
I know.
you,
We're inspiring.
to share your stories, because there's so many women suffering in silence and they feel like they can't talk to anybody. Right.
Right.
And if there's a woman like that right now that maybe is struggling, whether she's been diagnosed with cancer or another illness, because this can apply in many ways, or she's just in a place in her life where she's just feeling really stuck. Can you speak to her?
I think the thing to remember is it's, and we've been saying this a lot in a lot of places now, right? You are enough. Ignore those voices. Get out of that situation. It's, I think in a lot of cases, we hear about, say, abused women.
Yeah.
And, know that there is help out there, and find it, and it might be spiritual, it might be physical, all sorts of things, but you are a fabulous, unique woman, and we need you, and we need you to be that fabulous, unique woman.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. So if you could share a little bit about what someone who is maybe a support person for anyone struggling, what are some tips of what they should say and what they should not say?
Right. Well, we'll do the shouldn'ts first. I really don't want to hear about what happened to your grandma 30 years ago. It's not going to pertain now, right? Unless it's something like, my grandmother was so inspirational, but I don't need to hear that, this was what she went through. These are all the trials. No, because my diagnosis is stage 4 triple positive metastatic breast cancer. That is a whole big mouthful.
Yeah.
Someone with the exact same diagnosis, that's where the similarity ends. Everybody is different. So, we don't need the comparison. And now that is kind of the biggest shouldn't. I've had people who have meant well and have said some things. Then it was like, okay, well, I know you meant well, but yeah, the thing where you can help the most is, first of all, let them know you're there.
Yeah.
And that you are supporting them, but be specific. Don't just say, Rebeka, let me know if there's anything you need.
Yeah.
Because my brain cannot grasp that. Plus, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to trouble you, all of those various things. So be specific. Can I bring you lunch on Thursday? Can I take your kids to a movie?
Yeah.
Do you need, we had people that said, do your dogs need to go to the vet? And they did. I mean, that was, and, but yeah, be specific, because then I can go, you know what? I don't need lunch on Wednesday, but how about if you come in and we watch a movie together on Friday or something like that? And, and I did have people who told me, excuse me, we didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I told them, Hallmark has cards. I still have all of the cards, all of the things that people sent me, that are treasures. Now, at some point I'm going to have to decide, okay, what to do with these. But yeah, I mean, it was things, and like I had 2 people that I didn't even really knew I existed who had prayer shawls made and sent to me. Wow. I mean, they're hanging on the wall, right? Because I don't want my dogs, my cats near them. But yeah, be specific, just like, we don't, doctors can't read your mind. We can't read your mind either. A friend of mine said that one time when her husband was going through cancer, her friends showed up and said, we're here to clean your house.
Wow.
And she said, I was absolutely mortified. And then I realized, no, I needed my house cleaned.
Yeah.
So maybe not just spring it on them, but say, I'm coming over, and we're going to do this, this, and this. Yeah. If you aren't local, there are things that you can send them, obviously, but just offer to, talk to them on the phone and send them text messages, let them know that you're still thinking about them, all of those various things.
Yeah. That makes me think of, those are some really good tips. So thank you for sharing those. It makes me think of sometimes people, since they don't know what to do, they avoid completely.
Right. Yeah.
We're
like, I don't know what to do. Well, and we don't want to do the wrong thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But doing something is better than nothing. Right. Because
Even if it's not the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the last thing we want to do is make someone feel even more alone when they're going. Because then what we're doing is we're making it about us. If we avoid, oh, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know what to say to them. So I'm just going to stay over here.
Yeah. I lost friends because of this. It was very strange.
Wow.
People who they just could not deal with it. And so they didn't. I mean, and they were people that I had thought would be my biggest supporters. And it was interesting when I was very first diagnosed as, because we didn't think it was anything. I went to the doctor by myself. And so, first was my husband and then my mother. And then I texted my best friend and he did it back. And I thought, And, and then a little bit longer went, and I thought, And then I thought, well, I think she has 2 phones. And so I'm going to text her and I didn't hear back. Then she responded because then I was hurt, right? Oh my God. Then she responded and she said, I'm having a hard time dealing with this. Give me a little bit. That was fine.
Yeah.
And so a day or so later, it was, what do you need? And she was in Colorado. I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah.
She came out a couple of times, but for her to acknowledge, okay, this is just hard, but I'll get past it. And then we go on.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it is, it's not that we don't want to be around somebody sick or things like that. I mean, there's kind of that, but we don't want to acknowledge our own mortality. So, okay, I'm just not gonna deal with it.
Yeah. Wow. That's good. So what does a life of not focusing on dying, but trying to live look like? What does that look like?
Don't put stuff off. We all have those bucket lists, right? And so move things up that you can. Now, some things you still might not be able to do. Maybe you want to do an around the world cruise, right? Okay, you might not be able to do that, but can you take classes in different cultures from your university or museum? Can you go, to various places to learn more about it? I think we've all heard this. We don't want our headstones to say, if only I had.
Yes.
So, move those things up and, remember, treat yourself. It's somebody told me this. They said, treat yourself with grace and honor what you're going through. So it's okay to, feel bad and all of those things. But get out there, live life to the ability that you can.
Yeah.
And just, one of the other things is I tell people, and it startles them on occasion, and it has to be very authentic, right? That I love them. So, friends, relatives, I mean, people that sometimes you're like, no, that's not, and so it might not be the huggy thing, but, just tell them, or if it's a different level, that's fine. You appreciate them. You thank them for being in your life. Almost think of, what if one of you isn't able to say that tomorrow? So make sure you say it today.
Yeah. And I feel like this can apply even to someone who is not diagnosed with something. Yeah. Like, I think we should all live that way.
We should all be that way. And don't let those things go unsaid.
Yeah, because we honestly don't know from moment to moment, day to day, what can happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
I lost my mother 5 weeks ago, and it was very sudden. She was fine one day, and noon the next day she was gone.
Wow.
And so, well, thank you. But it was one of those things where it was so sudden. Now, she and I didn't always see eye to eye.
Yeah.
But 2 days before she passed away, we had the funniest, best conversation.
Oh.
And so that was great. But it was one of those things. And I tell people, we could get hit by a bus tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, don't leave those things unsaid and undone.
Yeah. Especially I've seen and I've heard so many times people live with grudges or they're mad at family members and they just won't talk to them for years. But then all of a sudden they get that call. So-and-so is not here. They live with so much regret.
Right.
So I feel like it could be on both coins.
Yeah. And maybe you're not going to be best buddies, but maybe it's just, and you might not even communicate it with them, but forgive them, you know, and move on. Don't allow them that space in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it definitely can, it's energy that you don't want to hold on to, negative energy. Yes, I love that. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you,
This has been wonderful.
I appreciate all of your wisdom, all of your nuggets. Is there any ending things that are on your heart that you would like to share to anyone who is listening today?
Yeah, one of the things that we tell people is life is the only thing that can defeat cancer. And it doesn't matter. Cancer, MS, depression, all of those things. Living your life is what defeats it. Might not cure it, but it defeats it.
Yes, living every day fully. I love that. Well,
and inspired, right?
Yes. Her inspired mind. Thank you for sharing your inspiring story. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you and contact, we're going to leave Deb's contact info in the description of this podcast episode. So make sure you guys check it out. Please share this podcast episode with someone. There's so many people I feel like need to hear this message of empowerment and inspiration and of life. So if you listen to this podcast episode and it was helpful to you, please leave a rating and review. Share it
5
on your
stars.
Instagram story. Yes. And tag me, Inspire Her Mindset, on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook at Rebeka Fillmore. And I look forward to just hearing how this episode inspired and empowered you. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.